Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a truly fascinating psychological quirk, and that's the architecture of total recall. Just think about this for a second. Every single day, the average human brain tosses out like 99% of all incoming sensory data. And it has to, right? Otherwise, we'd completely short circuit. We are constantly purging information just to function. But for some people, their mind operates more like a steel vault. Almost no timed observation is ever truly lost. So we're going to unpack the psychology of people who just seem to remember every single small detail of everyday life. You know the type. We've all bumped into someone whose memory seems, honestly, almost superhuman. But as we'll see today, this isn't about having some magical photographic memory like you see in the movies. It's actually all about how the brain fundamentally processes, organizes, and interacts with the world.
I mean, have you ever mentioned something small in passing only to have someone bring it up months later with perfect accuracy? It's such a relatable, everyday mystery. You might make an offhand comment about some incredibly obscure brand of tea you like, or casually mention a band you listened to in high school, and you completely forget you even said it. Then, boom, 6 months later, that person literally hands you that exact tea or references that exact band. It can honestly feel a little jarring. It's almost like they're performing a magic trick. But that perfect accuracy, it isn't a parlor trick at all. It's actually a highly specific, measurable way of interacting with reality, and it gives us some incredible insight into how human cognition actually works.
So, let's look under the hood in Section 1, how their brains work.
That feeling of a memory magic trick really just boils down to two specific neurological drivers working together in tandem. First up, we've got heightened sensory processing. What this means is when someone with this trait walks into a room, or even just has a quick chat with you, they are taking in a massively higher volume of sensory data. They aren't just hearing the words you're saying, they are acutely processing your tone, the lighting in the room, the background noise, all of it at a highly elevated level. And second, there's strong pattern recognition. This is the brain's ability to take all that overwhelming sensory data and just seamlessly connect the dots. They're actively filing away that tiny detail about your favorite tea and perfectly linking it to your core identity in their mental Rolodex. So they take in way more information and they organize it far more intricately. It's an absolutely crucial powerhouse combination.
But here's the thing. The core difference between these individuals and the rest of us really comes down to one absolute game changer: the filter. A standard human brain is fundamentally built for efficiency. It actively filters out everyday information, kind of like a colander draining water, right? It only holds on to the biggest, most necessary chunks. If a piece of info isn't immediately vital for your survival or whatever task you're doing right now, your brain just throws it out to save energy. But this specific brain architecture operates without that same filtration system. It holds on to the passing comments, the background hum, the tiny visual cues. It just lets all the water pool inside. So the real paradigm shift here is realizing that perfect recall isn't actually about a brain working harder to remember. It's about a brain that is literally failing to filter things out.
Which brings us to Section 2, the cost of awareness.
The source material distills the burden of this trait into two incredibly powerful words: too aware. I want you to really think about what that means for a second. Because their brain doesn't filter information the way ours does, they are too aware of their surroundings, basically all the time. Now, sure, it might sound like an awesome superpower to instantly recall every small detail of a conversation from 6 months ago, but imagine the overwhelming, unfiltered reality of actually living with it. Imagine just walking down a busy city street or sitting in a packed, noisy restaurant, and your brain is processing absolutely everything with that heightened sensory input. You're constantly recognizing patterns, absorbing random passing conversations, and you are utterly unable to just tune it out. So, it leaves us with a pretty profound question. Is total recall a beautiful gift of human connection, or is it an overwhelming burden of being perpetually too aware? Definitely something to chew on the next time someone casually brings up a passing detail you mentioned months ago. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer.